So a question I've actually legitimately been having for the last while is bottled water, different brands. Is there any difference at all? Because I'm in a position now where I get a lot of meal deals at lunch and I have to make a decision between River Rock or Ballygown.
There's a massive difference. Some are spring and some are just tap water.
But what, like...
There is a big...
How can you sell tap water in a bottle?
Well, you can't.
Is that what they do?
I think so. I don't want to say anything against any brands that may sponsor us at any point. So I don't know. I don't know.
I'm going to put my neck on the line, and I'd be picking Ballygown over River Rock every week.
And like, if someone handed you if you had to do a taste test, would you be able to determine which one's which? How?
It just tastes different. Like Evian is different to what Volvic. You know, I prefer Volvic to Evian.
I just don't. It has got volcanicity.
Before James alienates any more potential sponsors, we should move on.
Yes. Hello and welcome to the Balls Fantasy Premier League show, which is our new Fantasy Premier League show podcast that we're bringing back in a new format. We are on Facebook Live, we're on Periscope, and we're also going to be available on all the traditional podcast channels as well. My name is Mikey Trainer, and I'm joined by James Carroll and Mark Farley here to discuss fantasy football, because it is different this year. It is bigger than ever. It is more important than ever. And there I am talking through an iPad. Can you mute that?
I did. I turned down.
It's awfully distracting.
You just go on there. You talk away.
I was waiting until I stopped talking on that. So we're here to discuss basically the big changes that there's been in fantasy football. We're going to do try and get across our top fives, which is overall, and in the draft as well. We're going to be talking about strategies for the draft, which is something that we're all going to have to be thinking about if we're in drafts with our mates, which we should be, by the way. And you need to be head to head in draft. We're adamant about that. It's very important. We're also going to be discussing team names and addressing your comments. If you've got questions, fire them in. If you want to know what we think, we've also got the rankings of our dedicated fantasy football expert Miguel Perez on site as well. You'll be seeing them roll out over the next few weeks. A reminder before we get into it, we've got a separate group and a separate page set up for this. Mark, what is the name of the page you want to tell the people?
We've got the Balls Fantasy Premier League show page on Facebook. If you want to give that a like, we're also live obviously on balls.co.uk and balls.ie. This is a multi-geographical show. Exactly. And we've also got Fantasy Premier League tips and advice group. You join that group, discuss as much as you want, put in your own advice, get in your own questions. Obviously, we've brought back hashtag the ball bag. We'll be going to the ball bag later on in the show. Yeah. If you've got any questions for us, get them in the Facebook Live comments. Get them in on Twitter with hashtag the ball bag, or get them in the Facebook group.
Absolutely. And if were a listener to our original Fantasy Premier League podcast, get in touch, because we'd love to hear from the 8 of you that listened to that show.
What a show.
What a great show it was. It was a lot of fun. So the first thing we're going to discuss is our top fives. Now top tens is what we've kind of done, but we're going to narrow that down to a top five for, Facebook Live purposes. We'll be discussing the rest of our rankings as well. But we're talking overalls. James, I'm going to go to you first. Mm-hmm. You've got your post-its ready.
Yeah.
You're prepared.
So, hold on now. Hold on. Am I going to go from 1 to 5 or 5 to 1?
Why don't you go from 1 to 5?
Okay. So number 1 is Romelu Lukaku.
Okay.
Just because United, looking at the fixtures, their first 6 fixtures, they're probably the most easy. Number 2, Harry Kane. Mm-hmm. Just because he was top goal scorer last year.
I say Harry Kane's not going to be out of any of our top
fives. I don't think so.
Or top twos.
Then we're going for Gabriel Jesus and number 3.
Jesus. Young
Jesus, because Guardiola seems to like him, and 10 games last season, he scored 7 goals, 4 assists. De Bruyne in at number 4, just because I think he has to have a better season than last year. He was poor, missed that chance against Chelsea, which was...
It was a knock for the lad.
Yeah.
It was a knock.
And then number 5, I'm kind of not really happy about it, but I just had to have him in there, is Alexis.
Interesting. Well, I'm going to go next, because I've realised that my top 5 is identical to yours, although I have them in different order. So number 1 for me is Harry Kane, because it's all about reliability and trust. And Harry Kane has been the top scorer in the Premier League the last 2 years.
Can you trust him on corner kicks, though?
You definitely can't, or free kicks. I wouldn't. Thankfully, there's no set pieces in fantasy football. Can be way away from them. Number 2, I've gone for Alexis Sanchez, purely because I believe he's a player that can perform regardless of his morale and happiness. And like, Arsenal will go through those stages next season where the fans want Wenger out and everything's a crisis, but Alexis will still score goals regardless if he's playing on the wing or up front. So Alexis is my number 2 overall. Number 3, I've got big Romelu Lukaku, just because, I don't know, like, if Man United draw West Ham 0-0 on the opening day of the season, it could just be the same problems coming back again, and you don't want Lukaku to get into a bad start. It's just like he's going to score goals, Lukaku. He's going to have games where he scores hat-tricks, but I'd have Kane ahead of him. He's my number 2 striker. Number 4 is Kevin De Bruyne, and that is because I rate him and he's involved in everything, and I'm tipping Man City to win the league this year. This isn't a fantasy football related statement, but I'm going to agree with you.
Listen,
they're my early
I'm not having
tip.
any of that real life talk.
Can I say? Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'll move on. Number 5 in my ranking is the young boy Jesus, Gabriel Jesus.
Gabriel Jesus. Interesting. I think I want to just talk about Kevin De Bruyne for a second. It's scandalous. Yeah, this is really for, like, speaking about the draft. In your top 5, you can't take Kevin De Bruyne in the top 5.
Why?
Because he's like he finished, what was he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He was the 5th highest scoring midfielder alone last year. So you had like Kane, Lukaku, you've got Costa obviously who won't figure as much this year. You get Aguero ahead of him. Like De Bruyne, you can't you need to take a striker, I think, or maybe like Alexis and Dele Alli, maybe Hazard even. I'd have Hazard ahead of De Bruyne. I'd have Eriksen ahead of De Bruyne.
Tell us who you have.
Right, my top 5 is Kane, Lukaku, Alexis Sanchez, Dele Alli, and Aguero. Although it's a very worried,
a worried
5th Aguero. I'm not sure what the situation is going to be with Jesus and Aguero, which is also why I'd argue that you can't have Jesus in your top 5 at the minute.
Jesus is definitely going to play.
This is the thing.
Definitely.
I would have so much faith in Jesus because Pep seems to love him. He's work
an eye for a goal.
That system. And Jesus, he's such a good. Hey! That was actually unintentional. The impact that he had immediately coming into the Premier League with no experience, and he just, as James said, 7 goals, 4 assists. That's sensational fantasy output. He's also could have had more goals as well. I think give him a full pre-season with Man City. I think you're looking at the future of Manchester United or Manchester City's striking options going forward. I would be worried, Aguero. I've just squeezed him into my top 10. He's at number 10. But yeah, I'd be back in the young.
Yeah, like look, I'm not going to say take Aguero ahead of Jesus. I'd say I didn't have Aguero in my top 5.
Yeah,
I'd be taking De Bruyne ahead of Aguero anyway.
This is the real debate now. That's your issue is De Bruyne.
That's a good point. Like,
right.
I think closer to the season when you figure out, like, say last friendly, I think they played Aguero and Jesus up front. If you can nail down who's starting, definitely.
It could be both. It could be both.
It could be both.
If we still are none the wiser as to who's starting with them, I might take 20. But De Bruyne could end up playing in central midfield like he did for a lot last season. Him and Silva playing a lot deeper roles than you'd expect.
What De Bruyne gives you, and this is the reason that he's number 4 overall for me, and that I would pick him ahead of Aguero in a draft situation, is he gives you a threat of points in every game that he plays in. He could have a crap game and take a corner and Vincent Kompany heads it in. He's on free kicks. He's someone that is.
He could easily rack up 17 points in one game from 2 assists and a goal. He'll get City you, win 5-1 against Newcastle.
De Bruyne's floor is 10 goals. He'll get you 10 Premier League goals next season. And then you're factoring in his assists, which he'll probably be up in the top 10 in the league for. I think reliability has been a big thing. And you know when I'm doing this with my hand that I'm
and reliability is very important in a draft league because you're going head to head.
Give you a pen back. I'm pointing pens.
When you're playing in a head-to-head league, you need that person on form every week.
This is the thing. If I'm in a draft league and I'm going against you and I'm going to you next week, De Bruyne is someone who, if he gets me 7, he can get me 7 again. Whereas a lot of other players might be a bit iffier. I don't know what this is.
I would take Dele Alli ahead of De Bruyne all day, every day.
I'm not going to disagree with you there. I just think that Spurs might just have a slow.
But you are going to disagree with me because you've got him in your top. You don't have De Bruyne in your top 5. Or you don't have Ali in your top 5.
He's right. He makes a good point though about Spurs having a slow start. That's something that happened last season. I think we did.
And the season before.
Yeah,
and the season before.
That's my con with Kane. That's my worry with Kane as number 1 pick. It's a bit like I think it's between Lukaku, Kane, and Sanchez as your number 1 pick. Sanchez probably going to play in midfield. Possibly might not even be at Arsenal at the start of the season. Lukaku, new club. United weren't great going forward last season. They weren't as great at attacking threat. Probably you were probably better off with Lukaku at Everton than at United last season if he had been there.
Yeah.
And then you've got Kane who may not start scoring until the middle of November again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's ever scored a goal in the month of August in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think that is a stat.
But
I think that is a stat.
I think
this is the type of hard hitting, factual based opinions you're going to get on this podcast. I want to throw some names out there and see if they're in your top 10 and if they are, where they land. The first one is you alluded to Alexis Sanchez possibly playing on the wing. That would be down to the arrival of Alex Lacazette. Now, obviously he's done great things in League, but so did Gervinho. So
did Dimitri Payet though.
Yeah,
but
Sadio Mane
Lacazette
played.
was good last season.
Absolutely, and he's a very, very good footballer who
Yeah.
plays for France.
He scored
and
some absolute worldies.
disgusting
last
goals.
season.
Absolutely disgusting goals. So I'm not saying that Lacazette's Gervinho. I'm saying that there's obviously going to be caution there. Where does he fall in your top 10? I've got him at number 8, which is my 1, 2, 3. I've got Lacazette as my 4th choice striker purely because I think he's going to be starting up front for Arsenal, and with Mesut Ozil and with Alexis Sanchez and with the boys and the lads 09, he's going to fall into 15 Premier League goals next season.
Yeah, I have him at 9, but I have him at a very cautious. Like, I might actually review it because I've got Morata ahead of him, but I am afraid that Batshuayi might play.
Nishi.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. Morata's 80 million, but sure, like in real life, obviously, not in fancy football money terms. But like,
He's going to take. Yeah,
Conte could just take a notion and play Batshuayi and leave Morata on the bench for half the season.
But like, he
Initially,
barely played
yeah.
Batshuayi last season. Do you know
Well,
what I
the
mean?
thing
When he
at the
did play, he
start, I
scored.
felt like he tried to include Batshuayi more at the start last season, and then when he realised that the system was working, he was just like, "Listen,
Yeah, but like, that was
you're
the end
gonna
of
have to, you're gonna have to take a back seat." Now that Diego Costa's gone, Morata has to hit the ground running, or it's going to
And
be
in fairness,
time for some. It's going to be Mishi time.
He actually has scored in every single game for
He's
Chelsea in
really-
pre-season so far.
yeah, he's a good
So
striker.
I mean, I wouldn't rule him out.
The next name I'm going to throw out for the top 10 discussions before we move on is Sadio Mane. Now, this is a tough one because, like last year, Mane was not only one of the best players in the Premier League, but one of the best players in terms of fantasy, and he missed large parts.
He was still behind Coutinho in point scoring though, I believe.
Well, that'd just be purely down to Coutinho's
African Cup of Nations
availability.
and injuries, but Coutinho was injured as well.
This year we don't have an AFCON to worry about.
We don't have an AFCON to worry about ever again.
Yeah,
in
that's
February.
true. They've moved.
Yeah.
But that's for our African Cup of Nations podcast. Sadio Mane, I'm just going to throw it out there. I've got him at 9. I've got him 1 behind Lacazette. I've got him behind Hazard and Ali. So my midfield options are De Bruyne 1, Ali 2, Hazard 3, Mane 4. Because I think Salah brings a few selection headaches for Klopp into that team.
Yeah,
but
options.
Mane is too good.
Well, like,
too good to drop. So it's between, and so's Coutinho. So there's two
well,
spaces.
Coutinho.
gone.
I have Coutinho in my top 10. I don't have Mane, but I'm I'm playing it safe with Coutinho because you know he's going to start. He's going to take the free
You
kicks.
can't draft Coutinho
Why?
at the minute. Or he has to be a lot lower than 10.
That's true.
Because he could end up at Barcelona.
He won't. He'll
I don't
do
think he
another
will
year.
go
He'll
to
do another
Barcelona.
year at Liverpool.
This
and
could
go
be
to
the
Barcelona.
year where you want him
first of all,
from the
if they're
start.
serious.
Here's
He
the
has a
thing.
Luis Suarez season and it's off
Yeah,
to Barcelona.
But just to hop back to the draft again, you only get one first draft pick.
This is why
Are you willing to hedge your bets on, like, say for instance, who've you got? We've got Coutinho at 9. Who've you got at 10?
No, I've Coutinho at 10. I've
Sorry.
got Kyle Walker at number 9.
Whoa.
You see, this is my first time playing the draft.
And this is a
I'm-
nice dynamic
Yeah.
that we have on
Yeah.
the thing. Myself and Mark are coming in with fantasy NFL experience of participating in drafts and knowing what
I don't like
needs you need
change.
to cover. Whereas James is a very devout, traditional fantasy man. He's a football man.
Football man.
Proper football man. But you don't have the guile. You don't have the fantasy
Yeah.
guile.
So this
The
is why I
tactics.
have Kyle Walker
The
in at
tactics.
number 9 for
Kyle
no
Walker-
apparent reason.
Yeah, that is an interesting one.
Kyle Walker could finish in the top 10 for points overall in the
Yeah.
season, but that doesn't mean you should draft him in your first 10 because the difference between drafting, say, Kyle Walker and if you missed out on him,
Firmino.
say, Kieran Trippier, which you could get like 2 or 3 rounds later in the actual draft, isn't as big as the difference between
Okay.
drafting Kyle Walker and then your top striker being Salomon Rondon or someone.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
So
And that's what's wrong.
there's positions, and striker and midfielder are the two that are really important. That's why we're gonna get to draft strategy in a bit, and we'll talk about where do goalkeepers come into the decision.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a
The
goalkeeper
drafts at
in
the
my
minute,
top 10.
The likes of Johnny Evans.
Why don't you just give us your entire top?
Yeah,
10?
okay.
I'm pretty
So
sure
we've
you're
done my
on
top
the line.
5. So 6, Marcus Alonso. 7, Eric Bailly. Ben Foster comes in at number 8.
Wild.
And then Walker and Coutinho 9 and 10 respectively.
Yeah, so 7 to 10 you need to review because you've got your defenders, like we're saying, like the likes of Johnny Evans is going undrafted in a lot of the draft leagues at the minute. But no, just from this isn't like opinion; it is more like when you look at them and where it is,
Okay,
the rankings
okay.
are. He's going undrafted.
Nice perspective.
Cheers. In goalkeepers, the likes of Ben Foster, the likes of Arthur Burridge are going undrafted.
Mm-hmm.
Coutinho, again, you only get a first choice. Who would you have at 11 in your rankings? Like, say, do you have Mane in your top 10?
No.
So, for instance, you draft Mane, you're guaranteed Mane is going to play this season.
Yeah.
You draft Coutinho, Coutinho goes, and you're not getting anyone of quality as Sadio
Kyle
Mane.
Walker. I mean, like Danilo. Kyle Walker's coming straight into a position battle.
Yeah,
With Danilo. It's
literally the only reason I have him in first of all was because I watched the City Spurs game the other night, and he was awesome.
Yeah.
So literally,
I'm legitimately worried about Manchester City.
Yeah. Well, he could be. He's probably great argument that he's the second best defender to get in the draft.
Well, like
but when they go,
I had a look at the
is something where we're going to be looking at position by position.
I had a look at the stats, and he had 18 bonus points last season, and the only person that had more than him was Azpilicueta, which was 22.
Yeah.
So,
all right, so we'll move it on. We've got our top fives and top tens out of the way. The next thing we're going to bring up is our honourable mentions, which is really just, it's not people that would have gotten into the top 10 necessarily, but people that we want to have a conversation point. And I'm going to get the ball rolling with a man you've mentioned just there, and he relates to Kyle Walker as well, as Kieran Trippier. Now, if you're playing traditional fantasy football at 5.5 million, Kieran Trippier is it's a joke. It's a gift from fantasy Premier League.
I think
5.5 million for a starting Spurs fullback who can whip that cross like Indiana Jones for Harry Kane.
He can trip it and rip it.
He really can. He's going to get trippy.
I don't think there's any argument there.
Trippier,
I don't even think there's a discussion point there. It's just
I think everybody.
What we're talking about is when does he come into the equation? Yeah, sorry. Traditional, draft him. Don't ask any more questions. He should be picked in 100% of teams.
It's not going to be the case. But
Arsenal fans aren't going to.
40% of the people are going to have him.
But where does he come into the draft equation?
Well, the draft equation, I think you need to talk about it overall where it's going. So at the minute, it seems Alonso seems to be going first, and that's in late round 4, early round 5.
Mm-hmm. So that means the first 3 rounds of picks are people stocking up on strikers and midfielders.
Now that could be someone could buy early. It's like a quarterback in the NFL fantasy drafts.
Yeah,
someone could take Alonso in the first round, second round, but it's generally he's ranked 55th, I think, in the draft rankings. If you just go by the draft Premier League's website, and like I would say with Trippier, you can leave him because I don't think people are going to draft him that early, and he is one of those kind of insurance defenders where you're looking at someone going, I'm terrified someone's going to take Kyle Walker ahead of me in the draft, but I need another striker. You're probably better off taking a gamble and getting the other striker, because if you miss out on Kyle Walker, Trippier will still be there.
This is where you're going to need to have a position thing. So if you're like, I want Kyle Walker, but I think he'll fall to the next round. If Kyle Walker gets taken, you move on to your next target, and you know who that is and ready for the pick. So that's a huge thing.
When you mentioned that, wouldn't it be great? Yeah, for a draft board, wouldn't it be great to have rankings by position? If someone had done that up for us,
if only.
balls.co.uk and balls.ie. They're up on balls.co.uk,
and they're changing all the time. Like Kelechi Iheanacho signed for Leicester today, so we had to fire him straight.
Miguel Perez.
Where is he on the striker list as a matter of interest?
Kelechi's gone up from, I think he wasn't on it, so it's the top 30 strikers. He's now on.
Iheanacho's at City, he's not.
Yeah, exactly. Now he's gone straight in at number 13. So Miguel Perez is updating those every day. They're up on .co.uk live at the moment, position by position. They will be up on balls.ie by tomorrow. We've got the strikers up there at the minute.
Yep.
You've got Iheanacho at 13. There's some people like Diego Costa, where he's going to be at the start of the season. He's dropped well down 23, but someone could be brave, draft him, and he could play that the whole season.
You'd be a madman.
You're risking it. You'd be a madman like Diego Costa to take
James, you're going to hit me with an honourable mention.
Well, we were just discussing about the honourable mention, like we were talking about. I have Kyle Walker, and just because I watched him the other night, he was pretty incredible.
You've seen a player.
Yeah, he was running up and down the wing like there was no tomorrow. He played loads. He played pretty much every game last year. 6 assists, no goals, most bonus point system. I think he's going to be a big player for City.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think he left. He was asked why he left Spurs, and he really dug the knife in by saying he wants to win trophies.
Yeah,
so he's hungry. He's hungry for some fancy football
production.
Yeah, he really is. So
imagine if he sat down in the interview and said, well, the main reason I really did leave Spurs is I just want to get more fantasy points.
Exactly.
Need assists.
So
why is he so squeaky?
He does have it's a Chuckle Brothers voice is what he has. To you.
Anyway,
Kyle Walker, I
was going to say Eric Bailly, but I
like Bailly as well, because he's the one United defender you can trust to be, aside from Valencia, to be in that team every week. But Valencia's more expensive.
I was going to throw in...
You've got yellow cards with Bailly, because he's a wild man.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Okay, so that kind of puts me off him, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then maybe a little mention, just because he's going to play at the start, and that's Fabregas.
Yeah. I think Fabregas is a shape that's getting overlooked, to the point where Gary Neville today, I can't remember where he said it, but he said Chelsea losing Matic is a problem because they've got no replacements, and it's like, well, Bakayoko, but obviously he's injured at the start of the season, but he forgot the fact that Fabregas is going to slot in. Fabregas finished the season really, really well.
Yeah, and he seems to be a lot happier as well these days.
Yeah.
So
Content.
He's drafting mid-5th round as well in the draft.
That could be an
I've
early
got my
sleeper.
eyes on him.
The only thing is long term, if Bakayoko comes in and knocks him out of that.
Speaking of someone, I don't think he's actually on our list as honourable mention, but he should be mentioned, is Willian is drafting 2 places below Fabregas. Willian is playing in the number 10 role a lot in pre-season apparently.
Okay.
So he could be someone. I think Hazard's obviously going to slot in that, but Hazard could be out.
Hazard will probably be out for the start of the season. Broken ankle, probably miss the month of August.
Yeah. So Willian's fitting in there. Again, you draft him, you can drop him on you can leave him on the waiver wire then.
Pedro is fractured his whole face basically.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to skip your honourable mention because you brought us so beautifully into the next category, which is draft strategy, because there's a point there that needs to be made. Hazard, if he's going to miss the start of the season, and if he's going to be a first round pick, like he should be, you want Hazard. Yeah. It's not about the first couple of weeks, it's about the rest of the season. There's a technique in American football fantasy drafting called handcuffing. So if I've got let me think of 2 running backs that are on the same roster now. But let's go in the years past. If I've got Adrian Peterson and I know that he's really risky for injuries, but he has to be the first choice pick. Later in that draft, you want to take, I think it was Jerick McKinnon who was at the Vikings, who is the guy who's going to play in his place. So if you draft Hazard and you're looking at your team and you're thinking, shit, I've taken an injured player in the first round. If you take Willian, if Willian's going to be hit the replacement, that's the play that you need to make.
Devontae Freeman was a handcuff a couple of seasons ago and ended up being like the top scorer and running back.
That's a lot more likely in American football.
Yeah, it was incredible.
So do you take the risk with Hazard if he's injured at the start? That's what I want to know.
I say lower in the first round. If you're low in the first round and the
by
big
lower
hitters
do
are
you
gone,
mean
like I'm talking 7 on. So like I've got him at 7 in my rankings, Hazard, and I'd be happy to take him there. If I have the 7th pick in the first round, I would take Eden Hazard. But then I would straight away be thinking, who's going to play for him?
That's your next.
Fit.
Okay.
So, and like if Willian is falling, I can take him there because then, and then you're bringing in other things as well. Like, what's the story with trades?
Yeah, you can trade. You can wait. You've got the waiver wire every week.
Yeah.
And one of the annoying things, just in terms of if you play NFL fantasy, that's different than this one, is that if your player doesn't play, an automatic sub will win for you, which is nonsense. It's like half the fun is taking the risk of playing the player.
That's rewarding people that aren't going to set their team every week, and that pisses me off.
But like, for instance, if Hazard's still around, and he could be in some of the leagues if people aren't privy to this kind of idea, if Hazard's still around in the 4th or 5th round, you have to take him.
Hazard.
Yeah.
Chances of him falling that far.
If he's injured,
someone will be on auto draft. There's always going to be that bloke who doesn't show up for the draft, who ruins everything by not.
Can we mention his Chelsea teammate quickly as well, Marcus Alonso? Because he's another example where I would be happy to take Marcus Alonso in the 2nd or 3rd round.
He takes free kicks as well.
I'd almost want to draft him at the risk. Like, he's going 4th or 5th, but
well,
he's 7 million in the normal game. The only defender who's 7 million in the game for a reason.
Yeah. There you go. Like, when you're planning out your draft, you've got to think about you need someone in every position that's going to be reliable player and reliable point
reliability
scorer.
Is what we're going to be coming back.
Is it a smart idea to say I take a striker in the 1st, I have to take a midfielder in the 2nd, and then I have to take a defender in the 3rd? Or should I be going 2 strikers, then 2 midfielders, then a defender? Where do goalkeepers come into it?
I'm so happy you asked, Mike.
So many times. Let's go.
Here's my theory. In the draft, 4-4-2 or even 3-5-2 or 5-4-1. Honest to God, 5-4-1 is not the worst formation.
Why? You're really not selling this to me already.
Stats, James, right?
let me rap for a minute.
The 25th midfielder, right? 25th ranking midfielder last year in terms of points, got 120 points. The 25th striker only got 67. That means that like a Nathan Redmond is much more valuable in the draft than a Salomon Rondon or an Andy Carroll or someone like, the equivalent of like Andy Carroll's not going to play as much this season, but like Andre Gray, any of these players.
I've got my traditional hat on. You're selling it to me now.
So like you're better off with 5 great midfielders. And like, when I say great midfielders, Nathan Redmond counts as a great midfielder because he's going to get 50 points more, or at least maybe 60 points more than your 3rd choice striker.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where my argument was in, that you probably need to take 2 strikers as early as possible.
Yes.
And then either
what you're trying to say is there's way more value in a late defender pick than there is in a late striker pick.
Yeah.
So once the big hitters and the strikers are gone, you're essentially shagged.
Slim pickings.
Whereas if I ignore my defence, I could pick up Stephen Ward, who could get me 100 odd points next season.
As in, you might as well pick up Dwight Gale in the last round as Solomon Rondon in the 6th or 7th, because there mightn't be that much difference in them in terms of points.
Interesting. So, is there anything else we want to talk about on draft strategy before I move on? Just is there any other?
Goalkeepers is one as well.
Definitely, and because here's the thing: do you need to go with a De Gea or a Cech or a Courtois?
But there's always one good goalkeeper.
And there will be
in the
people.
game.
There will be someone in your draft who takes
a goalkeeper early.
Yeah, and Ederson in the third.
Well, Ederson had a good game the other night. But looking at the points, it's all fairly close between the goalkeepers. So Tom Heaton was number one.
There you go. And imagine if there was a draft last year, where would Tom Heaton have gone? He might not even have been drafted.
But at the same time, then after Tom Heaton, you're looking at Lloris, Courtois, De Gea, Cech.
Yeah.
So it's all the big hitters.
Yeah.
So it would probably be advisable to go for
the thing. Yeah, and the thing about picking one of those guys is you pick them, you don't worry about goals.
Yeah. So maybe
what you can do, and what is also a strategy in NFL. I don't want to keep bringing it back to NFL, but what also is a strategy is the specialist position there is quarterback. So I want Tom Brady, I want Aaron Rodgers, I want X, Y, Z. I want the top 5. Outside of that, I mean, 1 week I could be playing Blake Bortles up against a crap defense. Yeah. So if I've not picked one of those top 5 goalkeepers early in my team, I don't have to draft a keeper because there's only going to be 10 teams.
But do you want to
It's a risk, and every week you've got to think about who's the best matchup to play a goalkeeper. You've got injuries coming into it as well, but it is an option. You can load.
That sounds like it's going to be one of the more difficult decisions,
and that's why we're here to make it easier.
The other option is
make it more confusing.
The other option is as well, like you were talking about in terms of handcuffing. You could draft Hugo Lloris and Michel Vorm because it's not like It's not like in the game where you're kind of. I suppose you could do that in the game as well if you decided Lloris is my number one goalkeeper every single match in the standard game, that you just want to have Vorm there as backup in case he gets injured.
He goes, yeah.
I'm also just going to go through here some of the goalkeepers who haven't been drafted in a league here.
And just whether or not we'd be happy to have them as our number one
so at the minute, on the waiver wire you've got Artur Buric, Lucas Fabianski, Gomez, Ben Foster, Grant, Hennessy, Robles. Will he not be playing anymore?
I'd be taking Aurelio Gomez.
The day I draft Wayne Hennessy book one.
That's pretty much it in terms of starting goalkeepers. You've got some of the promoted goalkeepers as well. Darlow. I don't know. Is it Darlow or
Elliot?
Elliot's
not going to be starting.
I don't think Rafa Benitez knows.
Yeah, but I'd easily you'd be happy there with Ben Foster.
You'd be delighted with Ben Foster undrafted.
Picking up, and you're like that's.
Well, he's in my top 10. I'd be more than happy with him.
And that's what everybody. That's in a 10-team league with everybody having drafted 2 goalkeepers. So he's not in the top 20. Basically, he's like 30 or so.
That's mad.
So that's 30 or so in the fancy rankings, which also has all the sub goalkeepers ahead of him. But you'd be happy with that.
You'd be absolutely delighted with that, to taking a goalkeeper like that. So it's just another thing to think about. You've got to prioritise what positions you want before you're going in, and then you've got to prioritise what players you want in those positions. We'll move on. The next segment is James, you've been having a look at some of the quirkier team names. Team names are a giant part about fantasy football. Let's stop pretending like they're not. People care about their team names. People want to make other people in their league laugh with their team names. But every year you'll get the same ones.
I like to have a new one every year, something that's
imperative.
I can't,
unless you're the type of guy that is so successful that you don't want to change it for bad luck. But you're like
superstition. People are superstition in football.
What have you seen out there early in the 2017?
Early now, it's only a brief little one, but we got a bit of Luke Kyle Walker.
Okay, that's lukewarm.
Then we got some fun loving criminals.
Fun-loving criminals.
What do we think about that? Yeah.
All right,
Now, this one has been done before, but I just love it so much that it's just great. Guilty Pleasures.
Guilty Pleasures is a solid one.
I don't know if maybe it has been done before. I think it has been. Lana Del Rey. I think that's pretty decent.
Okay. That was a genuine.
And then we got 2 more. A bit of, footballers love their cheeky Nando's, but none more than Ruben Loftus Cheeky Nando's.
Okay, it's a mouthful. It's a mouthful.
Okay, you don't have to put in Ruben, you just go Loftus Cheeky Nando's, and then finally, if you like a bit of dessert, a bit of Heat and Mess.
Heat and Mess?
Yeah.
I've not seen before. I had a placeholder in there, and I went literally as I set up the team, I wanted to pick the team, I didn't care about my name. I threw in Stranger Mings.
I liked that.
I think it's forcing the pun too much.
No.
I don't know. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah.
It's better than the one you've replaced it with.
Well, I've replaced it with
Original
Quavers. I'm a big fan of Quavers. I think they're a criminally underrated crisp. And I just want that to be out there.
But this has no relevance to fantasy football.
And that's like, it doesn't have to. A fantasy football team name doesn't have to represent a player currently in the fantasy Premier League system.
That is true.
I want to get our thinking away from that. And I want to encourage people to explore other options of fantasy team names. I'm going original Quavers. I might keep it like that.
Mine's been Proposition Joe's for years.
You're from the superstition, yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten rid of Proposition Joe's a couple of times, and my form has immediately plummeted within the league. So I had to change it back to Proposition Joe's.
Yeah. Before we move on to the comments, which is coming up next, I want to throw one name in that we forgot to discuss in this entire situation, and that is Paul Pogba. Now, traditional fantasy, he's 8.0.
0.5 less than last season.
Yeah. So he's taking a drop.
80 million well spent.
Matic coming in very much looks like the shackles will be off Paul. Not that they were on, they kind of were, and he's just unable to wear shackles. But the shackles were on Pogba a bit. Now he's going to be freed up. He's going to have two lads behind him doing the dirty work. One more athletic than Michael Carrick was last year, which was a reason that Paul Pogba had to come back. Is he a massive sleeper in that traditional game? And where does he come into the thought in a draft? Because in a draft, he's definitely somebody that I'd be happy to have in my team for a season.
Well, when I first set up the normal game, he went into my team.
Yeah.
First of all, because I was like, second season, he's going to be better. But I took him out again because I don't know. I just have a feeling.
You don't get points for hitting the woodwork.
Exactly. Does he take corners? He takes free kicks.
He takes deep ones.
But free kicks are kind of on rotation at Man United because nobody can seem to score from one.
Yeah.
So it's a risk.
The thing about it, and especially traditional as well, you're not going to have Pogba and Mkhitaryan in the same team, and Mkhitaryan is 8 as well. Or is he
Mkhitaryan had 1 assist in the Premier League last season.
Yeah.
That is just.
But he had a weird season. I think there's been an emphasis. He's featured heavily in pre-season as well. I know you can't read too much into it, but these are the type of headaches that we're going to have to address. Have we got any comments?
We're having some technical difficulties in the Facebook Live. And I've got 23 comments, but I can only see about 5 of them, and only 4 of them are readable. Mr. Billy Gordon.
Billy.
But Gareth Irvine says 5.5 million Henderson for a cheeky punt. If Milner is out, Hendo on penalties, and Liverpool get loads of penalties with the style of play and that ball fizzing around the box. Can we also talk about the fact that Liverpool fans are going to draft a Liverpool player in their first round pick, no matter where they are in that draft?
I don't know.
We don't need to talk about that because that is a prerequisite for Liverpool.
It's a prerequisite, but it's wrong.
We know
have the second draft pick,
a very big Liverpool fan who's definitely not going to put fantasy thinking ahead of personal bias.
I accept that.
You can't tar them all with the same brush. There's a couple of commenters that'd be very surprised if it's me saying that, but you can't say that because it's. I don't know.
Well, I actually think
people are sensible enough.
I think Henderson is quite a good shout. As I said, at 5.5, he's probably going to play most games. And Milner, they bought a left back. Milner can't play.
They bought a left back, but Milner will.
He might start the season, but he can't keep playing Milner left back. It really does affect their game, attacking game.
Yeah, Milner is the one I talk about there. Henderson 5.5 is grand. Milner at
6.5, just because he takes penalties.
Nah, man.
No thanks.
As Buffy gonna say.
So Henderson 5.5, decent option. Yellow cards would be a worry for me. But
scored a few peaches last season against Chelsea. That was top in.
Yeah.
Gary McHugh also asked, will Robertson start for Liverpool? 5 million could be a Ruben Loftus cheeky pick.
Oh, we like that comment. That's the best one so far. We
were just discussing that.
Touched on it. Yeah, Robertson. I really like Robertson as a player. I think. What did I say about him at Hull last year? I said something positive about him at Hull last year.
It's up and down.
Very good.
Very adventurous.
He's able to whip it.
Yeah, very good against Ireland when he was with Scotland as well.
Very kind of killed us. But if we were looking at a situation where James Milner was injured for the first month of the season and Robertson had to go in at the deep end,
I'd be putting him in straight away.
Snap him up.
Yeah.
But because it's a position battle, it's a nervy one, I think.
Yeah, but as you said,
I think
if
that job
injured,
I think that job is Milner's to lose.
I
think that job is Milner's to lose for now.
I don't know.
If he doesn't, because he was very. Let's forget, Milner was very good.
But it did affect their attacking game plan.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the season. That's just.
Yeah. Liverpool are hard to judge because they've got so many different players.
Always hard to judge, yeah.
And they're Liverpool. Damien Cross and Chicharito bargain at 7 million. I think we all agree with that.
I didn't realise
traditional
7 million.
7 million.
That's the first time I've heard that. I would be considering him.
Let me tell you personally, because I've set up my team the way I have it now, is the first 2 strikers that I had to get were Harry Kane and Gabriel Jesus. So my third slot couldn't be an expensive one. I had Defoe at 8. It was too expensive. And I was looking at it and I was like, there is nobody underneath Jermaine Defoe that is a viable option. So much so that I had Jay Rodriguez chilling in there as my third striker because
having a good pre-season.
6 million, decent player, British player playing for Tony Pulis.
Yep.
And I think he's going to start ahead of Salomon Rondon. So I had Jay Rodriguez. Jay will now be asked nicely to get the boat.
On the watch list. He'll be on the watch list.
Yeah, maybe. But not really. I don't even care about Jay Rodriguez anymore. Hernandez is absolutely...
I'm shocked.
The only thing is he going to score at Old Trafford first week?
Yes, without a doubt. I think that's
Mark's putting his neck,
have it here first.
Putting his neck on the line.
Also, when you talk about strikers who are under 6-7 million, let's talk about a striker who plays in midfield and is under 7 million. John Walters.
Big John.
Richard Merrigan simply commented John Walters.
Yeah, love that comment.
No question.
I mean,
John
in the
Walters.
the comment is like John Walters himself.
In
No
the-
frills, effective.
In the long run, he could be good, but Burnley have a really, really difficult start. I think they have Spurs and Chelsea in the first 3
What
games.
is he as a what is he priced?
5.5.
5.5.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It is.
The other thing you say in the long run, Sean Dyche doesn't like to change his starting 11. It's very hard, as Robbie Brady has found out, to break into it. It's going to take time. But come Christmas, John Walters will be the Matt Phillips of fantasy football, I think.
Ooh, big claim.
Again, sticking his neck on the line. Again.
Mark's coming in hard in the first episode. Have we any more questions, or can you not load them?
Gregory Breen says Liverpool can win the Premier League, which goes back to my original point.
Well,
That there will be Liverpool
that is a
fans.
factually correct statement. Liverpool can win.
As can Huddersfield Town.
Well,
because they're in it, the same as Liverpool are.
You're going to get it in the neck from Liverpool fans. You're going to get it in the neck.
I'm done. I'm not reading any more comments just in case.
And we will wrap it up shortly, but I actually just realised I have 2 names here that I haven't brought up so far. The first one is Jamie Vardy.
25 to 1 to be top goal
I
scorer
feel like
this season.
everybody's ignoring Jamie Vardy.
Yeah.
Obviously, he had the ridiculous Hollywood season, and then last year was slower. But once he got going, he was still an extremely viable fantasy
End of
striker.
last season, he must have
Tenacious.
Ian Atcho's going to confuse things there, but they do play 4-4-2 a lot.
It doesn't seem like...
They do play 4-4-2, and if anything, Ian Atcho can help take some of the focus off Vardy for the defenders.
But like, I mean, it's not really a match made in heaven. Ian Atcho and Jamie Vardy up front.
It's a lot of pace.
Yeah, but that's it.
It's a weird one. I just wanted to bring his name into discussion. The other one is this is wild.
Here we
this
go.
is Fabian Delph.
Who does Fabian Delph even play for?
At the moment, he plays for Manchester City. That will not be the case.
Is he going to
on the
become one of
first
those
game
British
the season.
players at West Brom?
I think Stoke. I heard Stoke are in from. I don't know whether they can make that deal happen. But if Fabian Delph moves to a team like Stoke, right, where he'll be playing every week, 4.5 mil.
I mean, I'd rather have Ruben Loftus-Cheek at 4.5 million
Palace.
at Palace if he starts, because you know he's going to be playing
I'm just
further.
saying, keep your eye on the transfer columns for Fabian Delph because there may be something there. And if not, you know, I'm just going to get slagged by Fabian Delph for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think we're going to be bringing that up quite a
Okay,
bit.
well, sure. Look, there we are. We've all made statements. So that's it. We'll wrap up the first show of Balls Fantasy Premier League show.
And
.co.uk. We're very inclusive this year. A huge thank you to anybody who watched live on Facebook and on Periscope. And if you didn't, a huge thank you for tuning in on the other traditional platform avenues as well.
Alan Kern says, Gabbiadini, good signing fixtures. Sorry if already mentioned, just tuned in. Alan, it wasn't already mentioned.
Thank
and also,
you, if anything.
He's going
7
undrafted.
million.
He's going undrafted in some leagues.
But
I mean, he had a run about 4 games and then literally...
But injuries and Southampton played a factor there.
If you're playing 5-4-1 or 4-5-1...
He could be the new Rolando Bianchi. Do you remember him? Do you remember him?
Is he the guy that got the Joey Barton knighted with the sword?
I think so. Italian. That was the first Italian that I think came to my head.
Bianchi.
And Rolando Bianchi was it.
All right. Well, Jesus. I mean, I would have had a few Italians ahead of Rolando Bianchi in my thinking if I was thinking about them. But no, I'd be a big fan of Gabbiadini. I think he can put the ball in the goal. And at 7 million, I'd be confident. It's a risk. Again, you're looking at fixtures. Southampton actually do. That's a good point. They have a very cushy start to the season. So in traditional, I may lean on him over Hernandez with a view to swap them out after the first fixture.
Ryan Bertrand and Cedric as well.
Cedric
Suarez.
Anyway,
we have to go. We've been
Cedric
Suarez.
Yeah, okay. Cheers. Thanks for watching. We've said our goodbyes already, haven't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Peace out. Thanks.